Gabby, I love you.
This is Izaiah Zane, another All Caribbean Wrestling Signee. The 25-year-old is from Marrero, Louisiana. That's in New Orleans for those who don't know. He's wrestled on AEW Dark. He's been all around trying to make a name for himself. Give him some love, give him some support. And if you haven't watched my other interviews, give them some love as well. Appreciate your wrestlers. Thanks and enjoy. Izaiah Zane, oh my God, it's you!
How you doing? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How was your day today?
It was amazing. You know, Jesus woke me up another day, so I can't complain. God is good. I just turned 25 as of a few days ago, March 4th. I'm 25, but hey, I'm still young. I'm still young.
And how was your birthday?
I didn't do nothing too crazy. I just went out to eat with my family. I'm just grateful to have made it to another year.
You were mentored by the Pope, Elijah Burke. Just tell me about that experience.
So I met Pope around, well, not around. I met him in late 2020 of August. So I've been knowing him almost 5 years now. I just met him, started interacting with him on social media one day, and since then, he showed up to my first ever wrestling show in August of 2020 to support me and my friends. And he started out as just being a mentor, and then he became, you know, a friend. And now he's like a close, like I consider him my brother. He's kind of like an uncle at the same time, but he teaches me very valuable lessons. And it's just, he's one of the most underrated professional wrestlers of all time. He has like the most psychology knowledge you could ever think of, but I'm very grateful for him. He knows way more than I ever will.
Wow, so did you start training in 2020?
I started training in September of 2018. I started training at a local school in Louisiana, but in 2020 I left that school and then I wound up meeting Pope.
That's cool that you're friends with a former ECW wrestler. That's like unbelievable.
Yeah, he was in WWE, ECW, TNA. He had one of the greatest TNA matches of all time against AJ Styles. He was an NWA TV champion. He deserves so much more. He's one of the hardest working people I know.
What is something that you will always take away from him?
One thing I'll always take away from Pope is his patience. It has nothing to do with wrestling. It's just how calm of a human being he is. While he could be energetic and fun and everything, he has the most like, I don't know how he deals with me because I could be a little much at times. But seeing his patience and his cadence and the way he talks and the way he interacts with people and the way he's just a light in the world, that's something I aspire to be like every single day.
Okay, that's so sweet. And just kind of touching a little bit more in depth and, how you got into the business. What made you start training? Would you always want to be a wrestler? How did that go?
Originally wanted to be a basketball player. I was going to be in the NBA. You know what I mean? I was like Steph Curry back in the day. I ain't gonna lie. I would make every single three I shot. But recently, I'm pretty trash at basketball now after losing my step. But I started watching wrestling in 2013. And the first ever match I saw was Kofi Kingston versus Curtis Axel on a SmackDown. And when I saw Kofi Kingston, I was like, hey, I'm about to be like this dude. I mean, his style and character and everything else was completely different than myself, Izaiah Zane, but I was like, I want to be like this guy. So I started watching in 2013. I went to my first ever WrestleMania in New Orleans in 2014. And then I was like, from that day forward, I was like, all right, I want to be a wrestler. So once I was 18 years old and I got out of high school, I made the decision to go be a wrestler. And since then, I debuted in 2020. I'm 4 years in now, and I'm just grateful for every opportunity that I've been able to do so far.
Kofi Kingston, would you say he's one of your main inspirations?
I take a little bit of style in the ring, like move wise from him. I've kind of take some of his moves and made it into my own. If you watch like any of my matches, obviously Kofi Kingston does the Trouble in Paradise, the spin kick. I kind of took that and made it my own, where a guy will go to throw a clothesline, I'll catch it on my arm, swing him through, and then I'll kick him in the head. That's just like a little take it from him, but make it my own. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's one of my inspirations for wrestling for sure.
What made you want to tune into wrestling that day? Were you just flipping through the channel and you were like, oh, this is on, let me see like what this about?
So yeah, I was actually at my friend's house and we were playing basketball, and he was like, "You want to come inside?" He was like, "My parents just made dinner," and I was like, "Yeah, he's got some tacos. I'm ready to eat some tacos." So wrestling was on the TV, and I was like, "What is this, bro?" And he was like, "Oh, this is WWE." And I was like, "What the heck is WWE?" And he was like, "Surely you know John Cena, right?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I know John Cena, but I never knew, like, I've never understood it. But as soon as I saw that, that's when I was like, oh, I'm about to start watching every week now. And since then, I have not missed a single Raw, a single SmackDown. It's just because I want to have as much knowledge as possible. Obviously, I'm a fan, I enjoyed the show, but as a wrestler, I want to be able to just obtain as much as I can to learn as much. You know what I mean?
And what are some of the things that you are learning from tuning in every week since then?
Well, just watching every single week, I'm able to pick apart just psychology. One thing I like to do is if I watch a match between, let's say it's one of my favorite wrestlers, somebody who I feel is has a lot of psychology and tells stories a lot. One person I like watching a lot. He's not in WWE, is MJF. Obviously, he's in AEW, but his storytelling and his character and the way he puts his matches together. I'm exposing the business, but oh well. But the way he able to put the match together and have the crowd either completely cheer him or completely boo him and do the same thing vice versa, and just the way he might sell a move or whatever the case may be, I'm able to study him. So for example, I'll watch a match and first I'll study one wrestler, then I'll watch the same match again, I'll study the other wrestler, and then I'll watch the same match again and then I study both people at the same time, and then just three different types of knowledge from three different perspectives all goes in my head, and then I'll take a notebook and write stuff down.
Who were some wrestlers that really stood out to you?
Back then when I first started watching, obviously it was Kofi Kingston. Daniel Bryan was another one. I'm not much of a technical wrestler. I'm still not, but I would always see the way he was able to move in the ring, and I wanted to incorporate that inside of my own. So I still study some of his matches, more so some of his old Bryan Danielson matches, like back in Ring of Honor. Um, those matches are so inspiring. He was wrestling for like 50 plus minutes. I don't know how the heck he even does that, but he was one of my favorites back in the day. John Cena for sure. He's the greatest of all time. I don't know what the heck he was thinking with that nonsense he pulled recently, but we don't talk about that. But we're gonna move on. Current favorites, I gotta go with Cody Rhodes. As for the women, I'm going to stand on this, and I don't care what anybody says. Io Shirai, Io Sky, whatever the heck you want to call it, is the greatest women's wrestler of all time. Io Sky is, bruh, the aura, the presence, the gear, the look, the entrance, the in-ring ability, everything. Well, to be honest, being 4 years into the business, I'm still discovering myself. I'm still trying to figure out, you know, my presence, my character, my look, my in-ring ability and psychology, and how I want to present myself. But overall, I would say I'm all around. Like I said, I'm not much of a technician. I can fly if I want to. I could do a 630 if I want to. I could be more ground based. I could be more aggressive if I want to. I like being aggressive. I like hitting people hard in the face. You know what I mean? Some people don't like that, but hey, I'm a safe worker. But I might clock you one time. You know what I mean?
People should be prepared for that. If you don't like that, suck it up.
I mean, as a wrestling business, people think this stuff's fake, bruh. No, the only thing fake about it is, well, actually, I ain't gonna go too deep into the business side of it, but it's real. You don't hold nothing back. Obviously, I'm not trying to kill the guy, but I'm still giving it my all.
Right, right. I understand. So you say you're still trying to figure out what kind of character you want to portray. Do you have an idea, kind of what you want to, like, what you're trying to do, or you're like testing the waters?
I got a few different characters in the back, stuff that I haven't shown yet. I actually have a secondary gimmick, if you will, that I do at the Love Alive charity. That's Pope's charity down in Jacksonville, Florida. But if you want to know that character, you got to go to the Love Alive charity shows. But as for my normal shtick, if you will, I am yours oh so truly, Mr. Kind of a Big Deal, the gracious gift, your man's Izaiah Zane. And that's all we're going to say about that. If you want to learn any more else, just look me up on YouTube.
Gracious gift. I mean, I like that.
The gracious gift, Grace can mean smooth. Grace can mean a lot of things. But when I hit you with the gift of grace and I smack your face into the mat, it's it's lights out. Your man's Izaiah Zane is gonna come up on top.
And what makes you a gracious gift other than that? What other qualities do you possess that makes you a gracious gift?
I'm smooth in the ring. I'm like a dove, if you will. I mean, I call it the toe touching frog splash. You ain't never seen nobody touch their toes when they do the frog splash. My legs go split all the way out, and I can jump from one end of the ring all the way into the other. So that's what makes me gracious.
Did you come up with that?
And I think I came up with it. If somebody else did it first, then I'll give them credit. But to my knowledge, it's mine.
I know you say you're still trying to figure out your character, but for people who are in the same boat as you or just getting started, like what advice do you have for them to try to figure out who they want to be or who they want to portray in the ring?
This might sound kind of generic, but it really is true. A lot of people say be yourself, but turn it up, to 100. And I got so sick of hearing that when I first broke into the business. But when I realized you really can just be yourself in your day-to-day life, and if you turn that up a notch, like your own personality comes out. Everybody was born with their own personality. Everybody was born with their own look, their own charisma, their own style. So if you just implement that into your wrestling career and be yourself but turn it up, I feel there's no better way of getting yourself over with the crowd because you're showing people your real self. So that's the advice I would give.
What has been the hardest part about breaking into the wrestling business for you?
I would say the hardest part is just trying to it's really the grind. It's the hard part is not traveling from state to state. The hard part is trying to get bookings everywhere you go. I'm constantly hitting up promoters, hitting up companies, emailing people, telling them, who I am, showing them my resume, showing them a highlight reel, a match here and there. And sometimes they might say, "Hey, not right now." Sometimes the people don't even see it. And when you're not a name in the business, it's like, what do you have to bring? And I want to show people that I have something to offer, but it's all about being given the opportunity. So I would say that's the hardest thing so far. But being 4 years in and working very hard consistently and wrestling every weekend, I've been blessed and fortunate by the grace of Jesus to just been given many opportunities. I was able to be at All Elite Wrestling twice in my career. I got to wrestle for them one time. I wrestled for the National Wrestling Alliance. I've been at Impact Wrestling and TNA Wrestling. I never wrestled for them, but I was able to make appearances. And I even worked for the WWE one time, and I got to be at NXT. And just being able to, be around all these superstars and get as much knowledge as possible is something I don't take for granted.
In wrestling and AEW, how was that experience?
It was extremely nerve-wracking, but calm at the same time. It was the weirdest feeling I think I've ever had. I got to the building and, I'm like, okay, I'm not signed to this place. I'm an extra. Everybody here is somebody. And I'm like, just nervous, showing up in my suit and tie, dress shoes, trying to make a name for myself and just trying to do everything correctly. And I get to the building and they're like, there's like 15 extras. And they're like, all right, when we call your name, that means you're wrestling tonight. And they only called 4 people's names. And they called the Russell twins. They called a friend of mine named Dale Springs. And then they said Izaiah Zane. And that's when I realized I was wrestling on AEW that day. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scary because I'm about to perform in front of my home state in New Orleans, in front of 10,000 people, be on AEW Dark Elevation, biggest platform I've ever had. But at the same time, I'm with my brothers and I got God on my side. So at the same time, it was nerve wracking, but calming at the same time. And as soon as I walked out, I was like, you know what? This is where I'm meant to be. And I honestly realized walking out in front of a big crowd like that, it was a lot easier than a small crowd. I hate small crowds. It's so scary. But it's like when it's a big crowd, if you can get even one person chanting something, they all start chanting it. And now I'm like, you know what? This is where I'm meant to be.
How many other indie wrestlers were there waiting to have their name called?
There was about 15 to 20 wrestlers from what I remember. And they had like 14 matches on AEW Dark. And only two of the matches at night, indie wrestlers were going to get to be a part of it. And we were just sitting in line for like 30 minutes waiting to check in because, we're not signed there. So they got to make sure they're like, all right, is this guy invited? They got to say, call your name, Izaiah Zane, all right, check in, go meet with who you need to meet with. And yeah, I have absolutely no idea how they choose. I'm willing I would think that they choose based on, how hardworking one person is, or if they feel like the person deserves an opportunity. I also feel that when they do it, they're trying to see what you're about, if you can belong on TV or not. And I'm just thankful that they called my name and I went and had my match. And it was a quick little match. It was only like 3 minutes. I got pretty beat up, but I did a pretty good job and I got very good feedback afterwards. And I definitely took that knowledge and applied it today.
So, all right, let's get into you being signed to Mark Henry's brand, All Caribbean Wrestling. Tell me about the journey that you went through to get there.
A lot of trials, a lot of tribulations, a lot of setbacks, a lot of failures. Actually, I wouldn't consider it a failure because you can learn from every opportunity. But I've been um I've been traveling a lot, like 10, 11, 12, 13. The furthest drive that I ever drove was 19 hours to, get paid very little money. But meeting the right people and constantly showing your resume and constantly showing your face, I was able to get the opportunity to be around a certain group of people, and they give me the opportunity. And I had an amazing match. And since then, ACW, All Caribbean Wrestling, asked me to come back again. And then I was on another show, and then I was on another. And recently, with Mark Henry buying the company, it turned in from an indie promotion to an actual big company. Their goal is to be as big as the WWE, as big as TNA, AEW. And being able to be only 20, well, 25 now, 25 years old, and to be able to wrestle out of the country, I can already say that I've been to the Bahamas, Jamaica, and I'm going so many more places so soon. And I don't take it for granted at all. And I'm just grateful to be a part of such a small roster right now, but a roster with such big names. And I'm looking forward to being that next big name and just showing everybody who your man's Izaiah Zane really is all about. All Caribbean Wrestling is actually, they have an app. You can download it on Google Play, iOS, Roku. Just look up All Caribbean Wrestling, and we have a weekly TV series. It's also on Tempo Networks. So they air every single Saturday, and you can catch All Caribbean Wrestling. It's a 30-minute time slot. And other than that, we also have our premium live events, if you would like to call it that. And the next one we have coming up is on March 16th. It's in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And then after that, I will be back in the Bahamas on April 5th, where I will be going against Tito Colada, and I will be fighting for the Digital Media Championship. So I'm hoping to get my first ACW championship, and I'm looking forward to it because those Bahamas people, those crowds are insane. It's better than American crowds, let me tell you that. They are ridiculously loud. They don't get quiet. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
I want to get into your faith. How do you use that to keep you going?
My faith in Jesus. It started in a little over 2 years ago now, in 2023. I was just living in a world of sin, a world of just lostness. In case you guys can't tell, this is me talking. This ain't Isaiah Zane talking. But I was lost in the world, and I needed somebody, and I called on the name of Jesus, and I wound up getting baptized in His name on July 28th of 2023. And since then, my life has just changed for the better. I've had to make a lot of sacrifices. I've had to change a lot of stuff up, but I quit doing a lot of the things I used to be doing, to serve Him and to put Him first. And He has blessed me abundantly. And for Him, I don't take Him for granted. I make sure I'm in the Word every day. I'm in church as much as possible, surrounded by, Christ-minded community, because I always like to say you are the five people you surround yourself with. So if you're around negative energy, negative people, and people who are always toxic and bringing you down, it's going to rub off on you. But if you're surrounded by people who are positive and who are, just helping you in your day-to-day life and serving Christ as well, it's going to motivate you to want to do the same. So I just thank Jesus every day for waking me up. And I thank him for the food on my table, the roof over my head. And I thank him that he's guiding me in this crazy wrestling journey. And I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Oh, it's cute. Oh my god. Okay, so I want to ask a fun question. If you could build a three-person faction that including yourself, so you would choose two other wrestlers, any wrestler, who would it be?
Okay. Can I add a woman in it?
Yeah, of course.
Me, Io Sky. I already mentioned earlier. It's going to be me, Io Sky. Oh, this is tricking. I'll go with the Pope Elijah Burke. And ooh, I'll go with Xavier Woods. Austin
Oh,
Creed. I know that's all over the place. You got this stardom Japanese women's wrestler. You got a Pope, and then you got this gamer guy, Xavier Woods, who likes to play video games all the time. Then you got the gracious gift, your man's Isaiah Zane. But I think if you combine all four of those together, those different styles, those different types of presence, it'll make an amazing faction.
and what would the faction name be?
Hey, look, that's way too hard to think, and I ain't about to throw a name out there. I would have to think hard on that. Right now, the faction name is going to be Xavier Woods, Io Sky, Pope, and Izzy. That's what it's going to be.
Advice for aspiring wrestlers.
Go to a school with a credible trainer, somebody who has done something in the business. Don't just go anywhere. It's so easy to look up wrestling schools in Louisiana and probably find one in your area. But if they're not teaching you the proper basics, you're never going to learn anything. So you're going to have to make sacrifices. If you got to drive 2 hours to go to training 3 days a week, do it because it's going to pay off in the end. So credible school, credible trainer, and put 100% work in all the time. I know that sounds very generic, but if you half do this, you're going to get half out of it. But if you put your full effort and your for me personally, I like to say full faith in Jesus guiding you in this direction, everything is going to align accordingly. I like to say, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your path. I know that may not be quote unquote wrestling advice, but for me personally, as a man of Christ, that's the advice I would give.
And did the Pope help you get into all that? Or were you already kind of on that journey?
So I would always see him and I would always be like, bro, what is it about this dude? Why is he always happy? Why is he such a light? I'm like, why does he carry himself with perfect presence? And he would never push it on me. He would never talk about it or anything. He might mention something here and there. But then once I finally asked him, he was like, well, Isaiah, it's because of Jesus. And I was like, well, I'm trying to be like that. So once I said that, then he laid everything on me. And that's when I made the decision to get baptized. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank you, Gabby, for having me on. You did an amazing job. I've been watching your YouTube channel. You just popped up on my timeline one day, and then I realized I was like, this is the same girl that worked for 225. I was like, well, I got to get in on this. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to just say, trust in Jesus no matter what. He's going to guide your step exactly where you need to be. In case you guys were wondering where you want to follow me, you can follow me at Izaiah_Zane on Instagram. That's IZAIAH_ZANE. I'm also on TikTok. I'll be doing some TikTok live sometimes, just growing my fan base here and there. I also got a YouTube channel where you can catch vlogs of mine where, just be my day-to-day life and my wrestling journey. I also got some highlights, some matches on there. And also, if you guys are interested in hearing about the Word of God, you can follow the God Talk Ministries on YouTube, where you can catch myself, the Pope Elijah Burke, and the Russ twins spreading the word of Jesus.